Welcome to another edition of Stroke Warrior Radio, where every conversation reminds us that recovery isn't measured only by what we've lost, but by what we continue to build. Today's guest has experienced not just one brain injury, but multiple brain injuries. Yet instead of allowing these experiences to define her future, she discovered something she believes may be one of the most powerful recovery tools available, and that's what I'm all about, a positive mindset. Today, we'll explore what that really means, not the cliches, but the daily work behind choosing hope when recovery is anything but easy. Shannon Husser, welcome to Stroke Warrior Radio.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. Tell us a
Thank you.
little bit about your multiple brain injuries. I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So my first one actually happened when I was 18 months old. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I was with my family in Florida and I was standing on a chair watching my mom cook. Um, and she turned to do something, grab something for cooking or something like that. And that quickly I fell off the chair. Um, but in Florida, the floors are concrete slabs. So I fell and hit solid concrete when that happened. I don't specifically remember it, but I everything I know is from what I've been told. Um, and when that happened, because my parents were in a very unfamiliar place, they didn't know who to call or where to go, but knew there was a fire station right up the street. So they rushed me up to the fire station. Um, that was actually after I skipped a part, but um, the so I hit the floor and then all I did was cry for a while. So my parents didn't think much of it. And then they, hours went by and I started crying and I started getting sick and throwing up. And they couldn't get it to stop or anything. And as all that was going on, I had completely flatlined. And that's when things became concerned. And that's when they
Yeah.
rushed me up to the fire station and the fire department. They then took me in an ambulance and rushed me to the hospital. While in the ambulance, I once again flatlined, and they brought me back again. Um, they finally got to me to the hospital, and I was hooked up to machines, life support and everything. And I was there for a while. I'm not sure the exact time frame,
Yeah.
but my parents did tell me, or my parents told me that the doctors told them that if I were to live, I were gonna be a vegetable for the rest of my life and wouldn't be able to do much of anything. Um, and my parents didn't like that answer, so
Yeah.
they went and got a second opinion from another doctor, um, who told them, that's one option. The other option is to try to disconnect me from the different life supports and breathing and everything. Um, and actually, they decided to go with that plan, and they were just going to see what happened after. And slowly they started disconnecting everything and kind of just like waited to see what would happen. And after some time, I did come to, um, and um, and this happened in late 80s, and At the, I mean, still to this day, they still don't know much about brain injuries and don't have the
Yeah.
right, uh, you know, information and everything. So they just sent me on my way and went back to
Yeah.
Cincinnati and everything. And, um, my parents just let me live my life.
Yeah.
Um, and I never thought much of it. I did go for testing when I was a little older, I think in about second grade or something, because I had some delays in school and things.
Right.
I was diagnosed at a very young age with ADHD. Um, but
Do you think that was the result of the brain injury?
they do now.
Yeah.
At the time, there wasn't much not or
Yeah.
like facts about what was connected, but um, now that I'm older and I've been through multiple brain injuries, they do think that's directly related from my
Yeah.
brain injury.
How long was it until you did they I mean, it's back in the 80s. I mean, I can't imagine um the lack of knowledge or lack of information that your parents had. You didn't
Yeah,
have therapy, right? You didn't
I
wind
didn't.
up to, you
Mm-mm.
didn't have any of that kind of stuff.
No, I
Uh,
didn't.
so they parented you until the next brain injury, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
When was that? How long was that before the
Well,
next?
so yeah, they parented me like any other child.
Yeah,
And yeah, and I mean, there were things that came up. I was told that I wouldn't be able to do like um, physical things when I was older, like sports and stuff. So I kind of stayed away from that until I was an adult and then, tried some things out and learned that I could actually do sports and things.
yeah,
Um, but my second brain injury wasn't until my early 30s, late 20s.
okay,
I had actually, it was Christmas Day 2017. Um,
okay.
and and somebody ran a red light and I was driving and they T-boned me on the driver's side. So
Oh,
yeah, that one I remember. And
yeah.
that one like did a big impact on my life. It caused me to become permanently disabled. Um, so so that, you know, that one I did do therapy and stuff for years and years and
Yeah.
when, all the type of therapies there are, cognitive and physical and um, you know, talk
So
therapy
you
and
had typical symptoms of aphasia, weakness, all of
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah. But the kind of crazy thing about that one is that was in 2017, which isn't that long ago, and
Yeah.
yet it was Christmas Day. And so I kind of felt like I was brushed off. I was sent home
Oh,
by
geez.
the end of the night. Yeah, so I wasn't there. I was only there maybe 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that. And then they sent me on my way, said I probably had a concussion and internal, bruising and things like that. Um, but so they told me I was good to drive again and everything. So I went back to normal living or what I was trying to do, normal living,
Yeah, right.
um,
Right. Well,
for about,
and I think that's one of the interesting things I find about TBI or stroke or
yeah,
MS or any of those things. There's so much, so little they tell us.
yeah,
They take care of us right now, and then they send us home, or
Yeah.
they put us on a recumbent bike or whatever, stationary bike and walk away.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
um, what was it for you that got you to say, you know what, damn it, this is my recovery? What
Yeah.
triggered that for you?
Well, I went back to work, and went I tried to do as minimal driving as I could because I was scared too. Um, but I did drive to work and stuff. But about a few days in of working, I was once again getting sick, throwing up every day.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and I realized it was a job that I did, same things all the time, and I couldn't remember how to do anything. And my boss was really good about it, and he was like, just go home. Like you need to take a break. And so, I would go in partial days, but then I would leave because I couldn't function. I couldn't,
Function, yeah.
you know, I couldn't do my typical things. So then I decided on my own that I needed to get a second opinion because I knew that I had already had a brain injury when I was a baby and how much it can affect you. So I went and got a second opinion just from my regular family care doctor. They actually still didn't see anything. And so I went for a third um, doctor, and they were actually the ones that were like, no, you had a pretty severe brain injury. And then that person sent me to a concussion clinic where um, the clinic then oversaw all my therapies and everything, and they sent me everywhere I needed to go. Um, but it took a few weeks to get to that point, um, and just feeling horrible and not very confused
Yeah.
why everything. So, um, but yeah, that was I knew something was wrong. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was sleeping all the time. So, so then,
Well,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So then I just got all that help and went to, I'm sure you understand, and most people in this situation, I was at doctors every day, multiple times a week, uh, you know, or multiple times during the day, multiple times a week. And through that is like I had some of the best therapists and doctors and everything. Um,
Awesome.
not not everybody was like that. It took a few
Yeah.
times to find people and stuff like that, find good doctors, but um, that is actually probably where my I've always had a positive outlook on life, um, and really tried to find the good in everything. But you often forget that when you have a
Well,
major
yeah,
thing
because
happen in your
I
life.
mean, you're not getting enough information, you have
Yeah,
lack of knowledge, you have fear,
yeah.
depression. I mean, one of the things they didn't tell us is what the emotional and mental health aspect. What was the emotionally hardest part during that time that you were going through all that?
Um, it was it was a few things. People close to me, friends and family, didn't quite understand why I was so different. Not just, I mean, I looked the same and that's what threw people off, but um how I talked, how I acted, everything
Right.
was different than before. Um and that was a hard part, as well as just not understanding it myself, as well as like um when I started going to occupational therapy and physical therapy, more so occupational therapy, they used a lot of techniques and different tools and stuff that I had used when I was a teacher working with kids with disabilities. So
Wow.
so it was kind of like full circle and kind of interesting but weird at the same time. Like, wait, I used to help kids with these things, and now this is what I have to do. So,
This is, I'm now the kid.
yeah, yeah, that's what it felt like. But yeah, so just uh, the not having much information. Um, as most people say, you have to be your own advocate, which it took me a while to be able to do that, to be able to understand how to do that, I guess. Um,
That's true. You know, one of the things that's interesting about your story, and you just mentioned it, that people looked at you and couldn't tell that you had a brain injury or anything. And I guess they call it an invisible recovery.
yeah.
What couldn't people see that you were going through?
Um, I had aphasia and I
Okay.
had a stammer. I didn't fully have a stutter, I had more of a stammer. Um, and I knew what was going on in my head and I was trying to say it. Um, and a lot of people would either cut me off because they got um, aggravated that I wasn't talking fast enough or wasn't giving the answer quick enough or whatever. So people would cut me off or try to finish my sentence for me. And 9 times out of 10, neither were correct. So
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
that was that was something, and that was hard to explain to people too. Like I know what I'm trying to say, but it's not coming out. But not only that, I was always a very happy, positive person. And then when this happened, um, I got diagnosed with uh, complex PTSD, depression, a few other things that I never thought that I would be the one to experience this. And, you know, you hear about people going through depression and stuff, and
Yes.
it's really not something people that don't experience can really understand.
Yes.
And, um, and that was a really hard part of things because people are, you're not your smiley self and like all this stuff. And I'm like, well, if you went through what I went through, you probably wouldn't be either. But uh,
Exactly.
so
You
yeah,
know, you can't really explain the symptoms um, or the effects that you're going through to people that haven't had it.
yes,
It's very difficult.
yeah,
But you know, you wrote in a note we exchanged, I think an email or something, that a positive mindset probably is one of the best tools for brain recovery. When did that realization happen?
well, it started happening. The first year was very, very hard. And I really struggled with depression in ways that I could have never imagined. And then um, I actually, and I wasn't aware of it because I was disassociated. After that, I had a lot of disassociation. I had never experienced that prior to that. Um, at the time as well, I also had seizures and things all caused from the car accident. Um, and I, about almost exactly 1 year after my car accident, I disassociated and um, attempted to attempted suicide. But the thing about it is, I had no idea that I did it when I came to. Um, I had no idea what happened or how it happened or everything later to come. later find out
Right.
that I was disassociated and it was PTSD, and I had no recollection or knowledge that it even happened. And then, you know, after hospitalization from that, I that was like a that's kind of like what like was
Aha.
like I need to I never want to experience that again. And that was kind of my like, yeah, aha moment. And
Yeah.
um I started getting involved in like brain injury groups, as well as like mental health. I I did mental health groups and brain injury groups, and then about the 1 year mark around there is when I started to do brain injury advocacy and also mental health advocacy, because I didn't want somebody to go through everything that I went to, and like help somebody else like try to understand it, and like if it does
Yeah.
happen, you know, you doesn't make anything, you're not, nothing's wrong with you because of that. Like you're still the person.
Yeah. You
But
don't lose your intellect. You just
yeah,
lose some of the tools from the
yeah,
intellect. Yeah.
yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah,
It's a very difficult until you find other survivors that
yes,
understand.
yeah,
Um, one of the things I say a lot, and people are probably tired of it, is and especially in the stroke community up here, is it's you can be a stroke survivor or you can choose to be a stroke warrior.
yes,
And there's a difference, and you made that
yes.
choice. Was
Hmm.
there a specific person or something that influenced that?
Um, Actually, when it really kicked in was after the third brain injury, because most people don't, there's a lot of people that don't survive two major brain
Right.
injuries, let alone three. Um, and so that third one, which I can talk about and explain how I got to that point. Uh,
Yeah.
so that third one was very different in many ways. Um, that one, I actually was an attempted murder survivor. And yeah, so so that's why that one hit very differently. Had to go through all the court stuff and, you know,
Right.
all that stuff that wasn't really a part of the other things. Um, I was, the best way to say it, I was at the wrong place, wrong time. Um,
Okay.
I was always the person to, and I now don't for my own protection, I was always the person to try and make things um, better and like calm people down and, talk, just talk people through things and things like that.
You were the mediator.
Yeah, not anymore. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, right.
So just a quick overview of what happened there. I was at this actually happened. So two of mine have happened on major holidays. So this one actually happened on, it was like right at midnight. So it happened New Year's Eve into New Year's Day of 2020 into 2021. So, um, that's another
Yeah.
anniversary on a holiday. Um, but I was just with some friends. We had a small get together because 2020 was crazy for everybody.
Yeah.
And and we just were playing games and it was very low key. And I don't drink anymore because of medications and everything, and it's not fun for me. So I was just hanging out over there. People weren't, partying
Yeah.
crazy or anything. Um, but somebody was invited over that none of us really knew. She was just trying to be nice. It was somebody she knows, son or something. He had just gone through a divorce. So my friend was trying to be nice and invite him over so that he had something to do. So he wasn't alone. Um, and him and one of my friends, um, liked each other. Got
Okay.
They both got very drunk together. Ended up having sexual things happen. It was more significant because this was a family party and there were little kids around and everything. Yeah. And we were grown adults, like it wasn't um
Yeah.
and um my friend got all that to stop. She had the guy go home. Um, the girl, then the girl had brought her son with her. And she wanted to drive her and her son home, but she was very intoxicated. And um, because I had already had a car accident, years prior, me and my friend were like, no, we are not letting you get on the road. We'll call an Uber, we'll call your family, whatever. But you are not getting in a car behind the wheel. And that made her very, very mad, to the point that she got upset and started fighting with the friend whose house it was. Um, got pretty violent. We then had to keep her outside to keep ourselves and kids safe. Um, and waited for the cops to show up and everything. She had gotten physical and thrown things. She had, I think the alcohol and everything started getting out of her system and she started calming down. And at this point, we were all like taking turns, like talking to her, getting her to calm down. It was my turn, or didn't have to, but I was like, I'm sober. Let me go try and talk to her. And so I did. And that's where things turned very quickly. I was just talking to her and that was going fine. We were kind of just standing and, face to face
Yeah.
to each other, just talking. And that quickly she shoved me and I was really thrown off by it because she knows I was disabled already. And I was like, are
Yeah.
you really gonna try and fight somebody who's already disabled? And she's like, I don't give a fuck, like type thing. And so I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
like, okay, this is about to get bad. And that quickly she punched me in my chin and I'm like, okay, like, and at that time, I was still like very weak and everything because I was still in all my
Yeah.
recovery. And and then right after that, she just came up to me and put her hands around my neck and held on and squeezed and tight as she could and as long as she could. And somebody inside, the front door was open. Somebody inside had looked out, um, and saw what was happening. Two of the guy friends that were there came out. I, I don't really remember all this
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was completely blacked out. Um, I was blacked out, already like becoming limp and everything. And they came out and they had to both pry her hands off of my neck because she would not let go and would not stop. The one carried me inside and the other one stayed outside with him to make sure, or with her to make sure that nothing else escalated. And they took me back inside, and put me on the couch and they had me by some people so that they could make sure I was okay. When I came to, um, I was very out of it kind of the rest of the night. Um,
Yeah.
and it did not dawn on me at all that that could have been a brain injury. Like, it, I
Yeah, yeah,
didn't realize
exactly.
that that could be the connection. And so, cops came, ambulance came, they checked me over, said I was
Oh,
good to go.
and
Yeah.
left.
Yep, they did.
Okay.
They left. And they said if you want to go to the emergency room at any point, you can, but you seem okay. And I'm like, okay. So then my mom came and picked me up and took me back home. And she had asked if I wanted to, but I just did not feel good. And I was like, I just need to go home and sleep. Um, and then the next day in the morning, I was like, we need to go. We need to go to the
Yeah.
emergency room and then go file a police report. So that's what I did. I went into the hospital, and that is where they diagnosed me with an acquired brain injury, but not just an acquired, and anoxic brain injury from loss of oxygen to the brain
Right.
for an extended period of time. And still, I was only in the hospital for a very short amount of time. They ran all the tests and everything, but I was still in some of my therapies and stuff. And so, and I still had all my brain injury doctors because, I was still
Yeah,
recovering.
yeah.
And so after that had happened and they gave me the diagnosis and stuff, I reached out to my doctors and I'm like, here's what happened. And then it was kind of back to square one again and like started doing all that. But, fast forward after not only surviving two traumatic brain injuries,
Right.
moderate and severe one, um, which doctors kept telling me like this is like almost a phenomenon that you're you know alive and up and doing stuff. um and then when I got the third one, it's all kinds of doctors still to this day are like, this is unheard of. Like, there
Okay.
are not people that have had two major traumatic brain injury and a very severe acquired brain injury. It's like if they do survive, they're hooked up to machines and everything else. So,
And the way you got him, I mean, it's like
yes,
a car accident, an
yeah,
attempted murder. I mean,
mhm,
it's like, how in the hell did you get positive? I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I would, after my stroke, I was angry. I
yes,
imagine there was a lot of anger that you went through. How
yeah.
long did it take you to get through that, and what got you
Um,
through?
well, I was already to the point of like they were about to tell me I could go back to work. I could almost go back to
Yeah.
like living on my own and all this stuff. And I was like, it was like so close I could taste it. And so I, yes, there were about 6 months of really bad recovery and all that stuff. But even still, I was like, not many people can even say they're an attempted murder survivor. Like, that is not a thing that
Yeah.
is usually, people don't fail on the attempted.
Usually a topic of discussion. Yeah, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. And every new doctor and even old doctor I talked to, they just kept saying, like, this is like an actual miracle that you're, functioning and stuff. And so I kind of like took that into heart, like, okay, I've had multiple near death experiences and I'm still alive. Like, there's got to be a reason that I'm still alive, like that I keep surviving all these things and keep coming out strong and everything. So I just like kind of made it my mission to continue on with advocacy and found other groups for brain injury advocacy and more things for um, mental health advocacy. And at one of the things, I had told my story, and it was only a few months after the assault. Um, and I did not realize, like, as I told more and more people, is when I like kept realizing, like, wow, this is like,
I'm a miracle.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I told my story at this, I went to a retreat, um, with Love Your Brain. Um,
Oh, okay.
and so I went to a retreat and did that. And then after doing that retreat, I wanted to go back and I started volunteering and everything to help out other people. Um, I have always loved using my own experiences to help others, even before all my brain injuries. Um, and so that's kind of just what I did. I'm like, and I didn't want to get back to where I was, the first year after the car accident. I'm like, I cannot go back to that. And so I just stayed with all my therapists who I had, I mean, even though even though I no longer go to many of them, I still am in contact with them and they're like family to me.
Yeah.
Um, I'll reach out to them or they'll reach out to me and things like that. But hearing people, other actual survivors and things, they how much they took from my own story and like how thankful people were and all that is what really like gave me the confidence, I guess, as well as
Yeah.
like I'm like,
Good
okay,
choice of words. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, I can do this. Like, yes, my life has changed completely, and I probably can't do what I did before, but I can use my own experiences to help others. Um, and that's also why I keep telling my story places because
Yeah, exactly. I'm
because
curious, what kind of daily habits do you do that support this positive mindset?
so I have always done volunteering, and that's like come and go throughout all this. Um, I now more am doing it more regularly now, but getting out and being with people is a huge thing. Even though you don't feel like it or not up to it or whatever, it's super important to go out and be with people. Even if it's like going to the library where it's quiet and there's other people around. I mean, you have to take baby steps, but I also like it's going off of like interests that I had prior to the, the different accidents or like things that I liked as a kid. That that happened a lot. Like I started using um like it might sound cliche, but I started going and like trying to experience like I would go back and watch old Disney movies I loved as a kid or listen to the old music I loved as a kid and just like having that all like come back, um that's really helped. Being outside, I've made the outdoors like one of my big things that I focus on. I got a camper and I go and travel and stuff. I don't
Really?
I do solo. I do a lot of solo stuff, and a lot of people aren't for that, but you learn so much about yourself when you solo trip.
Yeah.
Um,
I I just took a 3-day trip myself this last
yeah,
weekend
yeah,
by myself. It's amazing. You
yes,
relax, you do what you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you
And
want, yeah,
it just clears the head. It's an
yeah,
amazing thing. I can't
yeah,
wait to retire so I can travel again.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, before my wife passed, we traveled the country for 6 years,
mhm,
and there's
yeah,
still a bunch of places I want to go to. So,
yeah,
I'm gonna do that.
yeah.
Um,
Another
Go
big
ahead.
thing is having goals. Like, and I heard that over and over and over and over from therapists, and it went
And
in
you
and
get
out the
sick
other.
of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then when I started actually doing it, and it might have been like one of the things I started was um, when I was little, I really struggled with swimming and kind of just like dropped out of swim lessons because I just was struggling so much. And then after my car accident, I was like, I never finished learning how to swim. Like prior to that, I had to hold my nose every time I would go under, and I was like, I'm going to learn how to swim. I don't care that I'm like full grown adult. I went to an adult swim lesson class, which I was much further advanced than I realized. But I learned to do that. And then I was like, okay, I learned to do that. Let's try another thing. And like, I would just keep, you don't know unless you try. If it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. But you can at least try things.
Yeah.
Another big thing, she's over there, is I have a service dog.
Ah,
And she's helped me through seizures and everything else. And just, and I'm a huge advocate now for people with brain injuries or stroke or, anything like that to look
right.
into getting a service dog if you can. They help so much in like the mental health aspect as well as like physical things, if you're not feeling like you can go out on your own, you have somebody there and they don't talk back and all
Yeah.
that. um, but just,
Constant agreement, right?
yeah, but just like doing things that I knew I enjoyed or things that I was always interested in doing. Like this past year, I have a fine arts degree with a focus in glass, and I did every type of glass art except for stained glass. And my grandpa, who's passed now, always wanted me to learn stained glass. So this past year, I was like, I'm going to learn stained glass. And so I did. And then I ended up being the assistant teacher because I understood it because of my background and I was able to help others. Um, but just like having ideas and like they can be small, like finish learning to swim or like you want to
Yeah.
go to a store by yourself. Like you have to do them. I know there's a lot. And even if you just attempt and you go and get in your car and then you can't make it further, that's fine. And then the next time do a little more and do a little more. And I did a lot of that. I was afraid to go to a coffee shop and sit by myself. So I would go. It first started me just, grabbing a coffee and then leaving again. But then after time, I would sit there for a while and do a few things. And
You know what we call that at Stroke Warrior Radio?
but
Catch the wave. Warriors
oh
achieving
yes,
victories every day.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's those little teeny things add up. I'm getting
hmm,
emotional.
yes,
Those little things add up. It's like I got to do this because I
hmm,
used to. I want to try
yeah,
it.
yeah,
This is something I always wanted to do. Those victories add up and they become remarkable recoveries.
yeah, yes,
It took me 7 years to get off my cane and walker, but I
yeah.
don't use them anymore.
There you go.
You
See,
know,
I was in a wheelchair in and out, the first couple years after my car accident, but now I don't have to use anything. So
yeah, exactly. And
all
you're driving
babies.
a camper by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's all these like baby steps of things to get you. And and yeah, you will fail, but you have to know that going into it. Like I definitely failed at the um swimming thing, but I just kept going. And then,
But you didn't fail. You took another step.
yes. Yeah.
That's part of
Yeah.
the positive mindset. You have to
Yeah.
change your vocabulary or your
Yes.
interpretations,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's why I like talking to you.
Yeah.
We're about running out of time here. I can't believe this. I got so much more to talk to you about. So
Okay.
please, if you wouldn't mind signing up for another time slot,
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
love to talk to you some
Okay.
more.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add for today, though?
Um, I don't think so, but yeah, let's definitely do another one so that we can get more into details of
Yeah,
things.
I've got a bunch of questions. I've got
Okay,
like two
that's
more
fine.
pages of questions here.
Yep.
So anyway, for today, thanks for sharing not
Yes,
only
of
your
course.
story, but your heart. I really
Yes.
appreciate
Yep.
that. It's
Yeah.
honest and it's amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
to our listeners out there, your story matters. Your recovery is worth fighting for, and you are never alone on this path. Catch the wave. That's warriors achieving victories every day. Thank you, Shannon. I look forward to our next talk.
Thank you.